Ever fancied owning your own man cave? Follow us on a journey as we build one using basic hand tools, which will hopefully go from looking like this to this. Stay tuned to Man vs. Man Cave. Okay, so we got success. That is the Celotex in. So now we can get the Tyvec on the top and get our floorboard on finally. So an excellent result. Right, so I've got the floorboards in, and I was just going to say this Airguard stuff. Get that around the right way. Dupont again. Yeah, really good. It's like a load of foil stuff, but it's got that same backing that the outer coating's got, you know, the breathable membrane. But it's got this reflective layer as well. So if you see down here, I managed to get the flooring in, and I've just left a little overlap, so you know, obviously the next layer can be taped on. And also I've got this little upstand here, and we'll also tape that, so we'll get the wall covering coming down, and we'll tape onto that. So that's gone in really well. There's a little bit of trouble trying to get the flooring down, you know, because I've had very little places to stand to get this board down, but we got there in the end. There's the overlap to join to pod 1. So I've got a few rolls of tape, so that should be quite nice. But I'm glad I've finally got a solid floor to stand on, and it's fully insulated now, so the only way is up, as Yaz would say, if you're old enough to remember that. Right, I don't want any of you to think that I'm making this up as I go along, but I am. I had a think about the air ventilation last night, and I thought there is a way I can get a vent to the back wall. So what I plan to do is run a pipe up here today, but then I realised that I've got a little bit of a gap at the top of the metalwork outside. So if I drill a hole through there, I can get a high vent, so it's going to be out of the way of insects, that kind of thing. But I also get a 25mm hole out the back, so I get a bit of cross ventilation then. Alright, it's got to go down the pipe and under the floor and all that sort of thing. So I've got the 3 pipes at the front, I've got our other additional high level air vent going out the front, and then I'll have one exhaust sort of thing out the back. So hopefully, you know, that will give us what we need. The other thing to point out is I'm putting in the insulation, the covering today, and what you need to remember is if you're doing any sort of alarm cables, that kind of thing, because obviously once you close that in, you know, you've had it. So I'm just using an offcut there of the stuff that I had yesterday, just to close that part in. We can tape the ends with the aluminium tape, but it's just worth remembering you've got to get those services in and remember them before you do the other layer, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. So anyway, we're doing all right here. We've got insulation. Obviously I've got to take all these blocks out of the wall now, because I'm going to put that insulation in later. So it's all progressing rather nicely, and I have a floor now, so I'm actually standing on something for once. So I'm going to clear all this stuff up. I think a lot of these battens down here from the old roof, I'm probably going to use in the ceiling of this one, just to use those blocks like we did before in the floor, just to space that insulation off and make sure it doesn't shift about. So they work quite well, got plenty of them, so I might as well use them up. Bit of a legacy product from the old shed, really. Right, now this might seem obvious to a lot of people, but as you've got the wall open, it's always quite a good idea to mark the locations of those pipes. So you can see there I've marked you know, cable joist centre, cable, we've got our air duct there, got another cable there, cable there. So as you can see all the pipes and all the joists and everything, it's just a good idea to mark those, so that when you come to fit your outer walling, you'll know exactly where everything is, so you don't stick a screw through it, which does happen quite regularly on site, so I can tell you. Just to give you an idea of airflow, this is the bottom of our pipe, and I've attached a piece of tissue to a block of wood. You can see how that airflow is pushing and pulling. So that tells us that our cross flow is actually working. It's not very windy today, but there you go, look at that. So it shows you that the wind is pushing and pulling on opposite sides of the building, which is exactly what we want. Cool. So that's what I've done there, just to show you. tape that onto a block of wood, and that is our pipe that now goes all the way up and out the back of the building. Okay, just so you know I'm not cheating, there is pod number 2. It's the final section of floor, looking pretty good. So we try to keep those boards as tight as possible, cut around all the pipes and everything. So I'm just ready to put that Tyvec stuff over the top now. Right, okay, so we're just going to have to join this edge up. So I've cut my foil tape there, and we're just going to obviously stick it along that line all the way along there, just to seal the 2 panels up. Okay, so I just wanted to show you how far those 4.3 square metres of rock wool goes. So we've got that little bit in there, and then we've got this entire wall. I'll just step back without falling down the hole. That entire wall, and then just that little section there. So that gives you an idea, and that wall is I think about 3 metres by about 2.5, something like that. So there you go. So, you know, floor to ceiling, goes quite a way. I mean, we're probably going to get 1 pod out of the 3 bags of stuff, because I think that the last one would do that in bit there. So 3 bags per pod. Obviously this wall's slightly longer than the smaller pod, so but I think yeah, that's about as good as it gets. Just started raining again. I'll just show you this foil tape. It's very sticky, I have to say, but a right pain in the butt to try and separate the layers of it. So, alright, there we go. So I've just about done that. You need a good set of nails for this. But what you don't want to do is peel that all off. The first time I did it, I peeled that off, and because it is so sticky, it just kind of curls back on itself, and you know, you might as well throw it away there. So what I'm doing now is, I'll just show you, is I'm sticking it down around the sockets. Let's just see what you can see. Yeah, so I'm using a bit of tape there. I've cut out the little lugs for the where we screw it in, sort of thing. But I'm just taping that around there, because obviously once you get the covering on the front cover, you know, you just want to make sure that's all nice and tight around there, so you're keeping it all nice and sealed. So so that's where we're at. But it does look a bit like a spaceship in here at the moment. I mean, look at that. How weird is that? So I've got it all nice and flat and everything. I mean, it's great stuff to work with, because it is quite resistant to tearing and that, you know. But not that I'm not paid by DuPont, by the way, you know. I think it's but it is a great product, I have to say. I think I'm going to need another roll of it, as typically, you know, they obviously work out how much you're going to need for an average building, and then, you know, undercut it by a little bit. But yeah, so I think I'm probably going to need another roll of this, as it's going under the floor and you know, in the ceiling and everywhere. But 87 quid I think I've got the roll for. But I think it's going to be well worth it with the energy that we save in here, you know. And my guttering turned up, so it's just sitting out there, so I've got to get that on. Right, so cutting around these sockets, a bit like decorating, so you want to cut yourself, find the centre and then work outwards. So I've just obviously found out where that socket is, so literally you're just going to pierce it, get those scissors around the right way. I'm doing this one-handed, obviously. So pierce it in the centre and then cut up to the corner. Okay, so there's the corner there, without cutting your wires, obviously. And then you know, obviously you can fold this back then. Just try and do this carefully. Bit like Blue Peter, this, isn't it? Well, there you go. I'll leave it at that. So obviously these flaps will go in. You take your cables out, obviously, and then trim those edges back. So trim those edges back there, and then just tape it round, so you've got like a nice airtight seal around the socket as well. And then we will keep it nice and warm in here, because obviously that's a area that you could sort of leak a lot of air. I know it's ridiculous to, you know, talk about that level of leakage, but obviously you've got a metal box there. It's just nice to seal round it, you know. You spend a lot of money on this insulation, so there's no point in having big holes in it everywhere. Here we go again. Every time I want to do something outside, it decides to rain. Now the keen-eyed amongst you would have noticed that once we put the roof on we wouldn't have had anywhere to actually physically attach it, so what I've done is I've put these little battens up here just so that we've got an edge for that plywood to rest upon. I mean, if you had plasterboard, the same sort of thing. So all I've done is pre-drilled it there. I've just done a little hole through there, and then I've got one of our battens like so, and on the back of that I've just run a bead of glue all the way along it, and then I'm screwing it in with those kind of plasterboard screws, just so it gives us a little bit of a lip to attach that board to. Otherwise it's just going to be all flappy in the corners and that, which you don't really want. Now the other thing that's changed is my wife told me off for having my arse hanging out my jeans, so I've got some new ones on today. Well, newer, they've still got a hole in them, but you know, check it out, you know, less holes. Okay, so what I've done here is put up the guttering on the back of the build, matching obviously brown, and I've used this Floplast leaf stopper because we've got a lot of trees, not that end but this end here, overgrown, so all the leaves have dropped down in here and we'd have to clean it all the time, so it just seemed like a good idea to get that stuff in. It's held in by the gutter clamps, so that ain't too bad. And then what we've done is we've got our Tyvec so that it drops down into that gutter as well, so it's looking quite tidy there now, because that was flapping around, so obviously a little bit of a nightmare for the neighbours. So yeah, so I'm quite pleased with that. There you go, there's the underside, and we got a bit of wooden soffit off eBay just to screw that to, so it's looking rather tasty, methinks. Now, you know, I was telling you about my jeans earlier, my new pair of jeans. Well, it hasn't turned out well for these ones either. Oh no, unbelievable. I don't know what I'll do with these things, but there you go. Okay, day 3 and another pair of jeans. Right, I just thought I would show you how much this coverage of the rock wall is for the 4.32 bags of stuff. So I've literally done that over there, so it's a little wrap around on the corner, and then as you've seen already we've gone all the way along the main wall. We got to about there originally with the first pack, and then we've now done the remainder of pod 2, so that's all done down there. So that was altogether, that was 3 packs of the 4.37 meters squared, so I estimate that we're probably going to need another 2 and a bit down there. I think you can buy them in smaller packs, so you know, obviously I've got that whole module to do down there and a little bit in there, in those 2 bits either side. So yeah, I think probably maybe 2.5 will do that. So it's getting there. I mean it might be me, but it does feel quite warm in here anyway, you know. So next thing is obviously doing all the Celotex in the roof, so that's my job this afternoon, and I've got to cut all these fiddly farty bits out for the downlight. So we've got 3 in this run, so it's going to be a right pain in the butt, you know. And then we've got some quite easy cuts, and then further down, and what I think I'm going to do is put a little hole through these joists here just to get a bit of cross flow, because obviously we've got that hole up there. But I think if I put a little hole at the back of each run, then we might get a little bit more flow of air through the space there, which would be all good. Right, I'm in the middle of doing the insulation on the roof, and I was going to cut a little square out for the downlighters, so that I could make a little pocket, if you like, so they could sit up in there and it would still be insulated. Anyway, that has not really worked, so the new plan, because obviously the downlighters have these little legs that have to flip out above either the plasterboard or the ply in our case, so they're slightly bigger than you know, the actual fitting itself, you know, because of the little legs. So the plan now is I'm going to use a bigger cutter. I'm going to cut a hole through the insulation there, and then obviously if my measuring's good, when I come to drill the plywood, we'll end up with a hole that's the right size for the fitting, and the legs will obviously be able to flip over the top and, you know, seal against the ceiling. Now we're going to use fireproof fittings, so they are fairly well sealed around them, so I'm hoping that I know we've got a break in the insulation here, but because it's sealed as well, we ain't going to lose that much heat out of there. And obviously that foil stuff that we're going to put in there, we can flap through the hole as well, so you know that will stop any major loss of heat. So the building should be fairly well sealed. I mean, I'm quite happy with the way things are going at the moment, and obviously the layers of insulation, it's probably worthwhile because it already feels warm in here, and we've got no heat at all at the moment. We've got no power, so we've got no heat. Yeah, I think it's going to be a very economic building at the end of the day. So worth spending a few quid now just to get the benefits for the lifetime of the building. Okay, so there's the finished hole. I've lined it with some of that foil tape, and you can see the cables sitting above, so when we cut the hole in the plywood, then it should theoretically align with that. So we'll have a slightly larger hole behind it, and yeah, that's worked out quite well, I think. So as the installation carries on. Well, December the 7th, 2018. More of this stuff. Just what you need. Bloody rain, eh? Mind you, it is mild. It just really makes things rather difficult. Okay, so we've got our 6 downlighter holes in. All the way around. Using a little bit of that tape just to seal up the edges. I might run that down all the joists actually just to sort that out. But yeah, they've worked out really well, those holes. So I've just cut it larger than the actual downlighter. And obviously the cables, I've just got sitting up there ready. So when we cut the new hole through, hopefully it'll all line up. We can paint the ceiling and get it all wired. Excellent. Well, I've just made it official. Man vs Man Cave 2018. Woohoo! Right. I had great plans for today, but as usual I got a little bit distracted. So I've been doing the door frame and trying not to throw any of these wooden bits away. I have found that I've got a load of this stuff. So I thought that might make a fancy old door frame. So I've used the old wood from the old shed just to do an inner surround, so you can see the bit that's stained and the bit that's not. So and then I've put the architrave just loosely at the moment all the way around. But I think that's going to look quite tasty. I mean, it's got a few dings out of it, but you know, a bit of rough chic. So yes, that's what I've been doing today. And then I found a little bit of kind of angled stuff, some sort of half moon. So I think that might be nice to finish off there. So the only thing I've got to do now with the door really is sort out this gap here. You know, so I'm going to have an inner kind of draft-proof seal on there, and then I'll have to sort out some kind of beading or something to just cover that line there. You know, and then we'll paint it all white, I think. And should look pretty tasty. Unfortunately the bottom edge is slightly lower than the top, so we'll have to have a couple of different bits of insert, you know, sort of inserts on there, but yeah, it should look rather nice at the end of it. I think that's coming together nicely. And obviously the junction with the skirting board now will be nice because we've got that little OG sort of architrave going around, and then it will just flow into the skirting board. So levels will have to be altered because obviously the flooring's going to come up slightly when we put this wooden floor down, so you've got that kind of insulation pad and then the flooring on top of that. But no, it's starting to come together. But like I say, I was meant to be doing insulation, but that's dead boring, so you know, so I got a bit distracted. I just thought I'd share this with you. This is the sort of thing you get at Christmas when you do a man cave. So there you go, and I think they've got it about right there. What's the trouble with you Joneses? Always have to go one better. I haven't fortified it yet, but it's worth thinking about later on. Very good. Okay, well it's Christmas Eve 2018 and I'm down here sharing it with Madonna, and she's looking like she's enjoying it. Work on the man cave doesn't stop, as you can see. It's in a little bit of a tragic state at the moment. I mean, you know, I've had to try and arrange it so that I can get under the floor here. So I'm just laying these bits here, and hopefully I'm going to get that bit over there done as well. And I've got to get the air pipes up the back of this section, and hopefully get that skin on, so a bit more of this Tyvec kind of Airguard stuff's going to go on top like the other section under there. I have got a bit of a, down here, a little bit of a lump, and I think that's because I've got the plastic and going to have two lots of that Tyvec stuff under there, so that's probably not going to work well. So I might have to deal with that, but as you can see I'm hoovering as I go, and it's all looking pretty bang tidy. I've just put some tape over those little lumpy bits we put in, you know, the floor supports, so keep that all nice and tight, but it's going down really well. So yeah, I will report back in the new year, but have a, oh, let's do this properly. Hope you all have a wonderful Christmas, and 2019 turns out to be really well, and hopefully we can have some man cave babies. I'm probably going to get this up after the event, so do have an absolutely spiffing time, and don't drink too much. Cheers.